What's up YouTube, Dale here from Zephyr War Games, and today I am bringing you an anti-meta Kashtira profile. Yes, before you lose your mind, Kashtira is still currently anti-meta. Until February, it then becomes meta. But this is definitely a deck that you need to be aware of, whether you're going to be building it yourself, whether you already have built it, or when you are going to be facing it in the upcoming formats. This is definitely a deck that is floating around right now because people are getting prepared for Photon Hypernova, which is only around the corner. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content. With all of that out of the way, I'm going to dive headfirst into this profile, show you some spicy iterations if you want to play it yourself, but then also highlighting the cards that you need to be aware of when you are facing this. So the most common one that you should all know right now is Fenrir. This card is being used and abused in absolutely every single deck out there. So Fenrir is pretty much the staple card that everyone is using because the fact that it just lets you banish an opponent's monster, or technically banish an opponent's face-up card, is incredibly powerful. Now the one card that is crazy powerful in Kashtira, and in my opinion, as a pure Kashtira deck would be a lot better, is of course Unicorn. Now the reason this is so good, or Unicorn to be specific, is it actually searches you out Birth. Now getting into Birth is the one that allows you to give you everything really. This is their biggest choke point because it is their strongest card. And what I mean by that is it allows you to normal summon a level 7 without tributing. That's any level 7 in the game. So if you open up some of your multiple level 7s, you just go, cool, normal summon it for free. It also allows you to special summon a Kashtira, except an XYZ, from your graveyard, that is banished or in your graveyard. So it allows them to regain their resource, which is why they can play some of the strongest anti-meta cards in the game right now in the form of D-Fissure, and of course the more powerful and massively annoying Shocker D-Shifter. We'll get to those in a minute. So Unicorn searches you out the spell. If that wasn't enough, Birth, when your opponent activates a normal spell card and you control a Kashtira, you get to target 3 cards in the graveyard, specifically 3 though, and then banish them face down. So again, that will allow them to trigger Strangler, which lets them lock out zones. It can trigger off Mind Hacker, which lets them banish more of your stuff. And it's just like, yo, leave my stuff alone. We're then currently playing Triple Ogre. Now this will change when the new support comes out because he's not the greatest. He searches you out the trap card, and the best trap card you're searching right now is Preparation. Preparation is pretty good, to be fair. So during either player's turn, you get to special summon one of your Kashtira monsters from the hand or that is banished. And if your opponent activates a trap card or effect and you control a Kashtira monster, and this card is already face up on the field, you get to look at your opponent's hand and banish one of them face down. So I did forget to mention actually, Unicorn lets you, if your opponent activates a monster effect, so these all have the same effect that if your opponent activates a monster effect, you do something. Fenrir lets you target a face-up card on the field and banish it. Unicorn lets you look at your opponent's extra deck and banish it face down, broken, 1 card from it. And then Ogre lets you look at your opponent's top 5 cards, banish one of them face down, and then you put the cards back in the same order. So you know exactly what they're going to draw, when they're going to draw it, and you can take out one of their strongest cards. So like if their top deck was going to break your board, you just go, okay, cool, we're going to get rid of that, and then kind of moves from there. So it gives you a lot of utility, and they're just incredibly powerful. Like if these were lower levels, like level 4s, it would be absolutely stupid. But the fact they can all just special summon themselves to the field if you control no monsters also provides great synergy with some additional cards in the deck as well. And that's why people play something like Donna for hire from the extra deck, and I'll explain when we get there. So the next cards we play is your starter. So the only starter you use is Psybeast. Now the reason we use this is because Psybeast can adapt its level to become a level 7 by banishing a Kashtira from the deck. So the idea is you can special summon one of your Kashtiras for free. So let's say you special summon a Unicorn for free. You can then normal summon Psybeast. Psybeast can then banish the Fenrir, which is obviously the one you want to be digging for. And then you have the ability, because you would already got Birth off of Unicorn, to activate Birth, revive the Fenrir, and then you can make a rank 7, which can be Shangri-La, which can also special summon out during the standby phase of Unicorn if you want it, or you go into Mind Hacker, and everything else like that. And then through that 2-card combo, if you add an additional extender to the board, something like Astral Karibo, you can actually get both your XYZs on board, and that's where it gets really, really annoying and really, really dangerous, because you can end up having your board of Shangri-La, plus you end up getting Diablos the Mind Hacker, and Mind Hacker triggers off Shangri-La. So for those of you who don't know, Shangri-La is like a once per chain kind of effect. So the way it works is you would activate Mind Hacker, so you'd have both of these on the board. You would activate Mind Hacker. Mind Hacker would look at your opponent's extra deck, banish one of the cards face down. That would then trigger on a separate chain Shangri-La to lock one of your opponent's zones. And then Mind Hack would also trigger to banish from the top of your opponent's deck. So you'd lock a zone, you'd then banish from your opponent's top of deck face down. That would then, on a chain afterwards, trigger Shangri-La to then lock out a second zone. So this is where it gets a little bit stupid, because with the new stuff as well, or the new cards, they're just able to constantly keep doing that, and they can either lock out all 5 spell and trap zones or lock out all 5 monster zones. So it really depends on how you want to deal with it. And the only way you can get rid of Shangri-La or get rid of the lock on the board is flip it face down or get it to off the board. So that's why people are playing like more Regekis, people are considering playing like Book of Lunar Eclipse, everything like that, just to kind of... you see, also reason why Swords of Concealing Light is going up. Because the thing is, Shangri-La during the standby phase will special summon out one of the Kashtiras, so then they'll also have an effect, so if you use a monster effect, you can then banish it or something like that, and then lock another zone. And then because Mind Hacker triggers when a card is banished face down, Mind Hack will then trigger, so then you end up locking another zone. And you just keep locking and locking and locking until pretty much you have no zones to play with. And that's what makes the deck incredibly powerful. And then they get a new walking, talking, Macro Cosmo boss monster, and they get their own field spell, which searches everything out and turns everything from 2 card combos to 1 card combos. So it's definitely something to be aware of. Then for the spice, now I take no credit on this one. This was actually shown to me, and apologies, I can't find the video, but when I do find it again, I'll put it in the comments below, or the description below. But the idea behind this is you play 2 Spirit of Neos and 2 Instant Contact. Spirit of Neos can search out Instant Contact, and it gives you kind of like a battle attack protector. So when an attack is declared by your opponent, you get to special summon this card. Just an attack is declared in general. You special summon this card can't be destroyed by battle. And then it lets you search out Instant Contact. So it gives you a free extender for the next turn as well, which I thought was really kind of cool synergy, and really, really worked out. So it's something I wanted to test out. It will probably definitely be changing when the new support comes out massively, but it's just something to be aware of, that sometimes if you're going to attack a Kashtira monster or a Kashtira player, they might even have this hiding, and just instantly by this summoning and searching this, they've got a rank 7 for the next turn. So then continue on with like your other extenders, your Ghost Second cards, everything like that. Is the last one is a Prankatops. Purely because you can normal summon this, because you'll have the birth up, you can just normal summon it for free, so that gives you another form of interruption. If you do happen to go second, you've got a very cool way of just going, cool, special summon down Prankatops, pop a floodgate, pop a card that might be causing you issues, destroy it by battle, and then in your main phase 2, start special summoning everything else. You can still, of course, also just special summon down one of your Kashtiras and then special summon Prankatops as long as your opponent controls more monsters than you, and you've got 2 incredibly powerful monsters on the board without having to really do anything. So incredibly powerful card, which is why it's at 1, and it's also why we still play it at 1 as well. Moving on to the hand traps. So this is where you're going to win 99.9% of your games with these. So of course that is D Shifter. This card is insane. Obviously it's only good if you open it, but if you open it you pretty much nearly get an auto win. Now obviously it's not going to be so good against Flunders, it's not going to be so good against Exo Sisters, which is why you take the card out. But ultimately you do not lose to it, you do not suffer to it, and it means you have a very good matchup. Speaking of Flunders as well, keep in mind that you have a very nice balance. Now, less so on the fact of Ogre being water, but more so on Unicorn being wind, gives you the ability to pretty much just summon itself under a wind barrier statue. The only thing you've got to be careful of is if you special summon it in attack mode, it will be negated under Penguin, so, or M-Pen to be specific. So if you special summon it in defense, you can use this effect to get Birth. Birth then lets you have a normal summon, so you're not special summoning, and that's where the Mecha Draco Sack comes in the extra deck, because Draco Sack can then be special summoned in defense, stop popping cards off until you need it, and then as long as you can declare an attack with it, you can then turn into a Zeus and clear an entire board. We're still playing Ash Blossom and Imperms. These can be changed for anything you want. These can be changed for more board breaking cards. These can be changed for additional hand traps. It really depends on your environment and what you're facing. Now, obviously, people are looking at DD Crows. You could put Bysteals in here if you want to. My issue with the Bysteals was when I was playing it, is I kept, obviously, you want to use the Bysteals during your opponent's turn. I don't want to have a Bysteal in hand and go, yeah, I don't really want to use this right now. And when I did use it, it would then put a monster on the board, which would then mean that I couldn't special summon out the Kashtiras. So it kind of clashed a lot, which is why I ultimately got rid of it. You can also play the Brave package or the Adventure package as well if you want to. I used to play it. Again, I kind of cut it because I didn't feel that it was giving me the maximum value. And sometimes the normal summon of something like Psybeast or the normal summon of a Kashtira is more effective than that. Moving on to the spells, if D Shifter wasn't enough, you can actually max out on D Fissure. If you want to, you can max out on Macro. But the thing about this is so good going first and second. So like you can activate this and then start breaking and picking your opponent's board apart, and everything's going to get banished. And they're just like, yeah, okay, cool. So right now, unless you face a deck that doesn't care about their stuff getting banished, like I said, Sisters or Flunder, you're pretty much getting an auto win off this. And then if you do face Flunders or Sisters, you can just take these 6 cards out, and it's one of the easiest side outs you're ever going to do. For the draw card, I go for Pot of Prosperity. Now you can change this up completely. One of the best cards, or the better cards, is Sacred Swords of 7. But the reason I don't play that is I actually want to dig for some of my more control cards. So it's like, right, okay, well, I've already got my 2-card combo and my 1-card combo, or I've got one half of my 1-card combo, and I want to activate Prosperity to get to the other half. The Sacred Sword of 7 is really good, but it requires you to get the monsters and have the level 7s, which you should do in this deck. But the idea would be, or the best way to kind of utilize it, is you special summon out Fenrir. Fenrir then uses his effect to search Unicorn. You then activate Sacred Swords of 7, banishing the Fenrir off the board, draw 2 cards, and then what you do from that point on is you then get the chance to special summon down the Unicorn. Keeping in mind, their special summons aren't hard once per turns. So as long as you have no monsters on the board, they can just keep special summoning themselves, which is why Sword is pretty cool. And then, obviously, your Unicorn would search you out. Your Birth can then revive the Fenrir. Obviously, Fenrir can't search again, but that just gives you an instant draw 2 plus a rank 7 on board. And then the final card is Called by the Grave. Just being able to hit stuff like... I don't think Ghost Ogre is going to be a bigger threat, because what you've got to keep in mind as well is D-Fissure and obviously Shifter as well are actually deterrents for particular hand traps, stuff like Ghost Ogres, Draw and Lock Birds, DD Crows. So if you drop them early or activate them early, because the Crows and Veilers and everything like that need to go to the graveyard as cost, they can't actually be activated or resolved. So that's one massive thing to keep in mind, that if you're playing Veilers and Ghost Ogres, for example, against this matchup, you probably take them out for something that doesn't need to go to the graveyard. Stuff like Imperms and Ashes just works out really, really well. So that's it for the main deck. Obviously, like I said, at the moment it is anti-meta. Once we get the new support, it will become meta. It's going to be interesting to see how the deck develops in the TCG with that. Because keep in mind as well, the tier elements are still doing incredibly well in the OCG, and they've been hit left, right and centre. So moving on to the extra deck. So for the rank 7s, I'm playing the 1 Shangri-La, the 1 number 89 Diablos, the Mind Hacker. I'm also playing the 1 Abyss Gaius. Now, the reason I'm playing this is because the deck doesn't have a rank 7 that gives you like a negate. Now, this is very specific. The way you make this, because it does require 2 waters, is you do need to get to Ogre, special summon down the Ogre, and then you will need to activate Instant Contact, and Instant Contact would special summon out the Elemental Hero Aquaneos. And there's your 2 waters. That makes your Abyss Gaius. It's just an alternative option. You've got so much flex space in the extra deck at this moment in time. Again, when we get to the new stuff, there's a card that locks you into XYZ summoning. So you'll start losing your Synchro plays and your Link plays and your Fusion plays that I'm showing you now anyway. So keep that in mind. But right now, I think this is a really spicy addition that works out really, really nicely and can really catch your opponent off guard. I mean, while we're showing this Elemental Hero, I might as well show you the other one. And that is, of course, your Elemental Hero, Flare Neos. So I just went with Water and Fire. You can change this up. This can be anything you want. There's no restriction to specifically have to play Fire. So you can play a Wind, you can play a Light, it doesn't really matter. But I feel that it has more utility because Fire is one of the attributes you don't have in your Kashtiras at the moment. So I think it's kind of nice to have. And then, of course, we've got the Red Eyes Flare. We've also got the Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Sack. And then for your other numbers, so keep in mind when you activate the Astral Karibo, it locks you into only special summoning numbers while it's on the field. So ideally your first target is to go into Diablos, but then you've also got the options of Big Eye, Harmonizing, Titanic Moth, and then the last XYZ we play is Zeus. So you've got 4 targets when you're locked into numbers. Obviously the idea is you're going to go with Diablos, and then Diablos can't be destroyed by card effect, which is really, really nice. So it does kind of give you an option that way. But like I said, the idea is that you want to get into, you know, you're just using Astral Karibo just for that additional special summon. And then spicing it up, we are playing 2 Synchros at the moment. So you've got 2 level 10s. Now this is very easily made. This is obviously Ash Blossom plus any Kashtira. And the reason you would do this is because you're going into Sovereign just to get a level 10 boss monster, because you're going to be banishing everything with D-Fissure, D-Shifter, you name it. You're pretty much pushing in for like a one-shot OTK. And if that doesn't do the job, keep in mind with Birth and with the trap card as well. You're going to be able to special summon back the materials or special summon back the Kashtira you use for the summon of this card. So it's pretty much never ending and it works very, very well. And then obviously Baron is your defensive option. Then for the last two spots, we've got two link monsters. We've got Donna, Dagger, Fellhire, and we've got the Yugioh, the Earth Charmer. So the reason for the Earth Charmer is because you can make it with Fenrir and then revive your opponent's Fenrir, which is pretty funny. You don't need to, like these are flex spots. Donna is probably more important right now because there's a lot of people that are playing to kind of counteract the D-Fissure and the D-Shifter. A lot of people are actually playing Baguska, and that's where Donna comes into play. So Donna is just two monsters with different types, which as long as you don't use two Kashtiras, you'll be fine. The other thing as well you've got to keep in mind of is that your Astral Kuriboh locks you into numbers, but the idea is it only locks you into numbers while you special summon it, and it does then adapt the level. So you've got to make sure you special out a Kashtira monster. So let's say you're locked under a Baguska. You special out a Kashtira monster, you can normal summon out your Ash Blossom, you can normal summon out, normal summon out the Astral Kuriboh, you can even instant contact, anything like that. You make Donna, and then what makes it so good is you get to target a monster for hire you control, which will be herself, and then one monster your opponent controls, and you destroy them. You contribute one monster to special and one monster for hire from your hand or graveyard with a different original name. Obviously, you're not going to do that because you're not going to play multiple for hires. But the idea is that she'll destroy herself and then destroy the Baguska. And then because she's done that, your board is completely clear again. So then you can go, cool, special summon a Fenrir, Fenrir searches, do everything you need to do it, or special summon a Unicorn, Unicorn search you out Birth, Birth can then bring back the Unicorn that you would have used for the link summon of Donna, and you just keep going and going and going and going. So this is why this card's so good or being utilised right now, is just to deal with Baguska. But again, like I said, when we get the new support, you've got to take out 6 cards because you're not going to be able to go into anything apart from XYZs, and that's when you can just open up. So like pretty much you're probably going to use 2 of these spots for the 2 of the new XYZ they get. You'll probably use 2 of these spots for 1 Shangri-La and then maybe doubling up with another level 7. And then you've also got the ability to go into like more rank 4s as well. So you can probably open that up because I believe the Kashtira monster we get, which is basically like Vista Starfrost's version, can actually go into rank 4s as well. But I believe it also can adapt its level to go to rank 7. So you can just up those and then you've got more prosperity targets as well. That's kind of what's nice about it is it has a lot of flex spots and it works out really, really nicely. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you do have any questions at all, by all means, please put them in the comments down below. I will be more than happy to answer them for you. But for now, until next time, guys, stay safe and, of course, happy dueling.